Eamon O'Shea joining Galway, Henry Shefflin's ticket there. That's all the talk at the moment for 2024. He's lived up in Galway for a long, long time, so there's always been talk that maybe he'd get involved. He's part of the Salthill Knocknacarra club. His son Donal plays from there as well. I suppose he'd worked previously with Micheál Donoghue, who had joined the Tipperary ticket. To be honest, I wouldn't take this too badly as a Tipperary person with his son involved and the fact that he's lived in Galway so long. It's not quite Mickey Hart to Derry, is it?
No, this was only a matter of time, Shane, realistically. Like, he was always going to get involved. And the fact that, I don't know about you, but when I saw him over that development squad with Tommy Dunn, was it earlier on this year, to start this year?
No, it was about this time last year. Well, maybe
okay.
November, December time.
Yeah, you're kind of thinking, like, that's probably put kind of a line in the sand to say, yeah, he probably is going to get involved with Galway at some stage, and he's interested in getting involved. The fact that his son Donal is involved, the fact that he's heavily involved with Salthill Knocknacarra as well, and I'd say he's been courted. Shefflin's not maybe the first manager that has courted him to try and get him involved. The only question I would have is, Eamon O'Shea is a bit different as a coach, and you talk about like the freedom that he gives players, shall we say, and it's like there's kind of nearly no rhyme and reason to the forward line in a way. There's a lot of instinct involved or whatever. And I don't know. I just wonder how his values align with maybe Shefflin's values. They clearly have met somewhere in the middle, or they, have agreements on what way they want to play, or they would like particularly a forward line to set up. But Kilkenny were always about structure, whereas with Tipperary and O'Shea, it's kind of a bit of madness to it, really. There is, and that's kind of what worked for them, and nobody really knew what to expect. But you're kind of going from a manager who played under a manager in particular, where everything was quite regimental and traditional to some extent. And then you have O'Shea, who, like, there's no textbook for the way Eamon O'Shea coaches. Like, it's totally off the cuff. So I think I'll be interested to see how two opposites kind of attract, or how they meet in the middle with regards to maybe how Galway will play.
Now, to be fair, Tipperary played some great stuff. 2013 was a disaster. That was Eamon O'Shea's first season. And a little bit, you couldn't help but say it was a bit unfortunate the way that game down in Nolan Park, firstly, been drawn away to Kilkenny for that seismic qualifier, wasn't ideal. Then Lara Corbett was on fire that day, went off injured very early in the game, and Tipperary didn't really probably recover from that. 2014, obviously brilliant, got all the way to the All-Ireland final after being beaten soundly early on in the championship, and got to the final very, very close. 2015, losing the semi-final to Galway in what was an absolute cracker. So 2 out of the 3 seasons, there was a lot of very good stuff for Tipperary, and a lot of people would credit O'Shea with the 2016 All-Ireland in Michael Ryan's first year, because there was that blend of maybe the two styles there. Then I suppose it's 3 years with Tipperary, initially under Liam Sheedy. 2008, Tipperary made a lot of progress. 2009 got to the final, lost after a classic. 2010 won the All-Ireland. So I think you'd have, I'd say, a glowing report based on that. On all 3 years there, and on 2 out of the 3 years, very good, even though it didn't get across the line in the second tenure. And then in the latest tenure under Sheedy, 2019, hockeyed by Limerick, but obviously went on to win the All-Ireland. So that's, brilliant. 2020, not good at all. 2021, not good at all. So in more recent times, and you would assume that he was the sort of head coach, or in terms of like the team playing how him and Sheedy would want. It's 2015 since last a Tipperary team played some really flowing, brilliant hurling, and putting it up to the very best teams in the game, because Limerick obviously had Tipperary's number in more recent seasons. So I'm just wondering, in a way, like, it's seen as a coup, but should it necessarily be definitely seen as a coup, or is it, do we need to see a little something before we start getting carried away with this?
Yeah, well, I suppose this is when you have, he's a dual All-Ireland winning coach and a former inter-county manager. It's yet another former inter-county manager going in as a number 2 or a number 3 in a county setup. And
managers don't want to deal with all the hassle, all the admin, all the nonsense. They just want to actually coach, get out onto the pitch.
Yeah. There's a hell of a lot less pressure on, and at the end of the day, the book does not stop with you. The book stops with the manager. I remember chatting Saoirse Bulfin about this when he was down in Wexford, and he just said, like, Davy lands down at whatever time and he leaves at some ungodly hour. He said, I get in my car, go and do my bits and pieces. When training is over, have chatted with players for a few minutes, get a bit of grub, and I'm gone. Do you know what I mean? It's different. Like the coaching role is a lot more attractive, shall we say, than the managerial role. But if you look at inter-county level now, Eamon O'Shea is in with Shefflin. Former inter-county manager, got tipped to an All-Ireland final, All-Ireland winning coach. Pat Gilroy's in with the Dubs. Rochford in with Mayo. Who else are we talking here? There's definitely at least Mike Quirk in with Kerry. Like, there's a lot of lads seem to be a lot happier in the number 2 or number 3 role now. But yeah, I put it to you this way. My ears didn't perk up too much when I saw Eamon O'Shea going to Galway. I don't immediately think Galway are going to win the All-Ireland or Galway are going to be unbelievable next year. But you would expect them to improve a bit under him based on his record.
Now, I love management, but like getting involved with UCD again this year, which starts tonight, and there's a reason we're going to talk about that with the freshers. Like, I was kind of very much, when I was chatting to Ger Brennan about it, I was like, well, I only want to be coach. I don't want, because I'm like looking at the winter months and I'm like, you'll be all in once you're there. And, you'll be given everything and all that kind of stuff. But I'd rather not have to deal with the admin side of things for a few months. So, all in, but I could totally understand why why lads who've previously been managers would be like, you know what, I love the game, and just for this little period now, I'd just like to focus on the actual sports.
But you are actually a manager now. It's like dealing with people in the workplace. Like, it's like emails, texts, calls, logistics. The reason you wanted to be a manager in the first place is probably to be a manager / coach and to be on the field and to be doing this and that. And sometimes, a lot of time, you're just, from chatting to lads, you're just like overseeing things almost. I remember chatting Brendan Cummins about it. He just said, as manager, like, my job, once the training session starts, my job is kind of done. Like, I'm overseeing things there, but it's my job nearly to get everything to the pitch. The coaches and whatever run what they're doing there. And then once the training session is over, it kind of kicks in again because all the logistics come back out again. When are we training next? Who are we playing next? Everything around that, and managing injuries and all that kind of crack. So they are two distinctly different roles, definitely. Like, they're poles apart, realistically. And I can see why lads only want to coach, and maybe it takes a different type of character then to manage. Like, managing and coaching at inter-county level now is like nearly alien, because it's nearly impossible to do them. But there are a couple doing it. I believe Conor Laverty's still doing a good bit of it up and down, and there's a few lads that wouldn't like to relinquish the on-field stuff, but it's getting rarer and rarer now because you just can't mix the two as much, because they're both, the management job is so time demanding now.
Well, if you've got coaches there who are basically doing the drills and coaching the team you want them, or the way you want them coached, you can kind of just stand back then and watch and jump in as you see fit and be like, that's not the way I want you players executing the drill. Or chat to the other coaches and say, well, look, could we do this, that, and the other, maybe to bring it on and make it more game specific or whatever. So I actually think it's a nice position to be in, where you have people running the drills for you and you can come in and you've got that sort of bit of control at all times. There's a really good comment here actually from ML89. If Eamon O'Shea could turn lads around like he did with Larry Corbett and Seamus Callanan, it'd be worth it for that alone. If you could get a Jason Flynn or a Kevin Cooney to max their potential, it would be good. Very good comment there. Like, Corbett and Callanan always had the talent, but he helped, and obviously other people were involved as well, but obviously he was hugely influential in that because he's been mentioned so much by both of those players. Like, Jason Flynn is a player of immense talent. What is he, 6'4", unbelievably fast, brilliant hurler, and you kind of wonder at times why it hasn't been brought on to that next level of him becoming a really, really top player to very consistently. And he's only 28 years of age. He'll be 29 soon enough. Maybe this could be the thing. So from that point of view, maybe it is a huge coup.
I'd say there's a lot of forwards in Galway very excited anyway. Based on, if you look at Jamie Cannon's retirement statement, if you look at anything that Larry Corbett has ever said, Owen Kelly as well, maybe to a lesser extent, they were so glowing in their praise of O'Shea, and even the kind of nearly the responsibility that he gave them. O'Shea was the first one kind of to put Callanan on the freeze, probably at county level. And look at his performances in 14 and 15 under O'Shea, and I think even the residue of O'Shea still in 16 when Callanan was brilliant and got the 9 points the 9 points in the All-Ireland final. So I'd say there's a few Galway forwards fairly excited, but it's still, to me, the jury is still out on Galway at the minute. So the jury is still out on the setup, I would say, to some extent as well, because I don't know if they improved. They didn't improve in 2023 realistically, and they needed something a little different. So Eamon O'Shea is definitely something a little different.
Yeah, I'm just thinking Brian Kincannon, Evan Nyland, Connor Cooney, who'll be 31 soon. There's a lot of talent there. Can they pull it all together? So, it makes it very interesting. A Sully 180 says you can pull players out of drills and speak to them one-on-one too. If you're trying to coach and manage, you can't do that. Emil89 says Johnny O'Connor, Johnny Concrete, new S&C coach too, and former head of S&C at Arsenal, Des Ryan over underage. S&C in Galway too. A few big moves made in Galway. Lucas Kurgenstein's a big loss, but a good change for both. It went a bit stale. He's obviously gone on to Clare. So isn't that 5 S&C coaches in 5 seasons for Clare?
Yeah, that's usually the one role where you think you need continuity. So that's unusual because you've had different S&C coaches and none of them do the same thing. They all have completely different principles, focus on different things. Like you could be doing plyometric work with some S&C coaches. Other ones might really be big fans of running and getting the miles in. Other S&C coaches might be big fans of boxing or other aerobic exercise, maybe that doesn't involve running as much. So like for them to be moving on to the next, and obviously Adrian O'Brien, father of the Bull O'Brien from Kilmallock, he was obviously brought a big reputation from Ballier and the Bars in with Clare this year, and he's gone after 1 year. And I believe there's going to be a big shake-up in the backroom team in Clare from what I'm hearing as well, and there's going to be plenty of new faces in there and the coaching ticket as well. So yeah, plenty of changes in both Galway and Clare.